Assalamualaikum and hi. We from Group 5 will present to you about Digestive System 1. Digestive System 1 consists of alimentary canal, which is mouth, palate, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine and large intestine. And we also include peritoneum as part of digestive organ in Digestive System 1. Thus, we will start with upper digestive system.
Now I would like to explain a little bit about mouth, palate, esophagus and pharynx. First is mouth. The characteristic of mouth is oval-shaped cavity, and mouth also known as oral cavity. Next is palate. Palate consists of hard palate and soft palate. Hard palate comprises of bone and it is immobile, while soft palate comprises of muscle fiber and it covered by a mucous membrane. Next is pharynx. Pharynx leading from the oral and nasal cavity to larynx and esophagus, and the function of pharynx is this muscular wall of pharynx involved in the process of swallowing, and it acts as a pathway of movement of food from mouth to esophagus. And lastly is esophagus. The characteristic of esophagus is 8 inches long and it lined by the moist thin tissue called mucosa. Esophagus runs behind the windpipe and the heart.
Stomach is muscular organ, J-shaped and dilated alimentary canal. Now, let's look at the location of the stomach. Majority part of the stomach located at the left upper quadrant, and a little portion of it, which is the pylorus of the stomach, located at the right upper quadrant. For the regions, the stomach occupies the left hypochondriac region, epigastric region, and umbilical region. Here is the list of 8 different parts of the stomach, which are cardiac, fundus, pylorus, antrum, pyloric canal, pyloric sphincter, lesser and greater curvature, as well as gastric rugae. The cardiac is the region that surrounds the opening of esophagus into the stomach. Fundus of stomach is the dome shape here, the pylorus, which then will divide it into pyloric antrum and pyloric canal. Pyloric antrum is the entrance of the pylorus, while the pyloric canal is the one that located close to the pyloric sphincter. Now, let's zoom in and have a clear view of the stomach. So here is the esophagus. There are 2 sphincters in the stomach, which are lower esophageal sphincter and pyloric sphincter. There are 2 openings in the stomach. This opening is also known as orifice. The first one is the cardiac orifice. In some textbook, it is also called as gastroesophageal opening. This opening allows bolus from esophagus to enter the stomach. And then the second one is the pyloric orifice. This allows chyme goes from stomach to the duodenum. There are 2 curvatures. The first one is lesser curvature, which is the attachment part for lesser omentum. And then the second one is greater curvature, which is the attachment point for greater omentum. The stomach wall have 3 different orientations of smooth muscle. This is also known as layer of muscularis externa. The outermost layer consists of longitudinal smooth muscle. The middle layer is covered with circular smooth muscle, and the innermost layer is lined with oblique smooth muscle.
So I'll be continuing on the small intestine. By definition, small intestine is an organ in the gastrointestinal tract where most of the end absorption of nutrients and minerals from food takes place. There are 3 parts of the small intestine, which are duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So, the anatomical position for duodenum is that it is located inferior to the stomach. The characteristics of the duodenum is that it is about 25 to 30 cm long and is also divided anatomically into 4 sections: superior part, descending part, horizontal part, and also the ascending part. As been shown in the diagram, that is the C-shaped segment of the duodenum, which is also another characteristics of the duodenum. So for the next part is the jejunum. It starts at the duodenojejunal flexure and ends at the ileum. The characteristics of the jejunum is that it has thicker mucosal lining, thicker wall, large diameter, less mesentery, and lastly, it has longer and straighter vasa recta. So the last part of the small intestine is also known as the ileum. It is located in the lower right quadrant, and the ileum has more fat inside the mesentery, The diameter of its lumen is smaller and has thinner walls. And the other characteristic is also that the circular folds are smaller and absent in the terminal part of the ileum. So that's all for the small intestine parts.
Large intestine is a coiled and thin-walled tube. It starts from ileocecal junction to the anal canal. It consists of 4 parts: cecum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. The first part is cecum. Cecum is like a pouch which located in the lower right quadrant, and cecum is a intraperitoneum. Second part is colon. Colon is between the ileocecal junction and rectum. It has 4 parts: ascending colon, which goes upwards, then it makes a turn, and this part we call as transverse colon. Then it goes downwards, which is descending colon, and the last part of the colon is sigmoid colon, which has a S shape and end at the opening of the rectum. We go to the third part of the large intestine, which is rectum. Rectum is a retroperitoneal, and from the sigmoid colon, rectum goes downwards, continue with the anal canal. Anal canal is the last part of the large intestine. It consists of anal columns and sinus, internal and external anal sphincters, and opening is the anus. And that's all for the large intestine.
So, I will explain about the peritoneum. The peritoneum is a continuous membrane which lines the abdominal organ. The structure of the peritoneum is consists of 2 layers that continuous with each other, which is visceral and parietal. Visceral is the layer that covers the intraperitoneal organs, while the parietal is the layer that lines the abdominal wall, and visceral peritoneum, which envelop the abdominal organs. In order to adequately fulfill its function, peritoneum develops into highly folded complex structure called mesentery and omentum. They are consist of a double layer of visceral peritoneum. So, mesentery. Mesentery has 3 parts. First is transverse mesocolon, which connect with transverse colon, then mesentery that posteriorly along the abdominal wall, and sigmoid mesocolon that attach with the sigmoid colon to the pelvic wall. Last but not least, omentum. Omentum is consists of the greater omentum and lesser omentum. Greater omentum is the extended from the greater curvature of the stomach and proximal duodenum, then descend inferiorly over the transverse colon, duodenum, and ileum. While lesser omentum is only extends from the liver to the lesser curvature of the stomach until the first part of the duodenum.
أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور